So, Dave, in honor of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie coming out soon, I see that you've got Dr. Eggman pop over here.
Yeah.
If Sonic's got to go fast, I think Dr. Eggman's got to go last.
The boo that is building up inside of me does not equate to what would be equipable if Boater were here. Speaking of which, welcome everyone to the Nerd Glasses podcast. Interestingly enough, and as we talked about last week, Boater unfortunately had to pick up his new car to be able to, do that whole working thing. So he will not be joining us for the Nerd Glasses, but fret not. For after the Nerd Glasses ends, the Citadel will be going live, and our titular hero, Boater, will be back for that. Joining me today on the call, so much about the Call of Duty tournament I want to talk about, but is a friend of mine and a regular of the, so named by him, Garnted Cult, on the Weekend Wednesday and many other programs. I would like to introduce the viewing audience of the Nerd Glasses, and welcome to Insane Games TV,
yeah, it's a
your
pleasure
first
to be here.
program. Joe from Geek for All.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
I'm excited to have you on, and it's going to be a really good program. We have a lot to talk about, and of course, as always, 60 minutes, Mr. Wet Boater looks different.
Yeah, no, I do. I've changed. I've definitely changed.
It goes along with the whole idea of when Joe and I used to work for a scout camp up north. One particular Saturday, I looked at Joe while we were eating lunch, and I said, "Joe."
I did not think you were going to tell this story. Okay.
Joe, I thought very hard about. There's a story about this, but I started eating. We're eating lunch, and I look over at Joe, and I go, "Joe, this tuna salad tastes like shit."
And I went, "Well, that's good because it's chicken salad."
So,
100% completely serious. It was not a bit. It was not a joke. Dave looked quite embarrassed about it afterwards.
I was.
But
I for weeks had been thinking that every week I'd been eating just really piss poor tuna, and
instead it was like passable chicken.
It was.
Our chef did an amazing job,
as always.
Yeah. Shout outs to him, Joe from the past, and now Will from the future.
Hell
They did
yeah, Will!
Incredible jobs. But yeah, it was perfectly fine food, and Dave was very upset with the quality of the not at all tuna chicken that we were eating. So yeah.
Speaking of things I'm upset about.
Sure.
All right, we'll roll straight into one of the hot button issues. This has rocked between the day's worth of programs.
Okay.
And it all started on this past Saturday. Insane Games had its second ever and very successful, might I add, not just because my ass was all over it, but Call of Duty tournament. And it was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. I was very I was very honored to get to be able to be a commentator during it, to have Logan joining me on headset, to get to finally do a project with Dan, was on screen with Dan was really cool. To have Jackson join us on the call as well was a lot of fun, and the people that came were good competitors, and there was a lot of good sportsmanship. So for me personally, that got me nothing but hyped about it.
Okay.
But there was a moment where Dan extended an olive branch. He attempted to be not only friendly, but I'll call back to a joke on previous programs that I was a part of. But he was truly being 5-star Dan.
Okay.
And he went and he purchased a pizza for all of us that were working that day.
Sure.
To have. Well, in anything, I'm very excited about doing a thing, and so I don't want to stop doing the thing that I'm doing because I wasn't necessarily very hungry. Mm-hmm. So Dan mentioned that there was pizza, and he said, "Do you want some?" And I thought he meant, "Do you want some now?" And so at that moment, no, I didn't want to get up and move, and I really didn't want to switch the table and things like that, mm-hmm. Change out to just having like one commentator on there.
Right.
And so I said no. Well, later I decided to take a break from the booth, and everyone did a great job, picking up the slack of not having my loud mouth there. And I went over, and I wish we had security camera footage, because I went over to the box of pizza, and I opened it up, and it was just empty. And I just kind of went, all right. So I closed the top of it, and I put it over. And then after the tournament, I just casually mentioned, like, I thought there was going to be a slice of pizza. And this apparently just grew into this horrifying story about I was foaming at the mouth, apparently, about not having pizza, a bunch of other things. I mean, I'm irrational. I am. You folks knowing this know that I'll yell about anything. I'll get really excited and build it up and bang on the tables. But I just appreciated that Dan bought pizza. Like, he buying rights could have just kind of went, like...
Yeah.
So I do not... To officially address what was discussed on Behind the Counter. Firstly... Mike, you're a saint for always backing me on most things, regardless of the fact that there's a lot of times where Mike backs me on a thing and then catches to no end of shit about it.
Yeah, of course.
And not to say that everyone else accuses, but Mike was really, gunning for me that I should have gotten a slice of pizza, whereas, and I will bluntly say this, I appreciated that there was pizza purchased, and I appreciate that there was pizza offered, and at the time I said no, and so everyone else who was hungry at the time ate the pizza. Cool. Next time, when there's pizza offered, I'm just going to reach my hand in the box and just take one of the slices and just put it in front of me and do this for the rest of during the tournament. Like, while people are like, what? So it'll be good. I'll become like some sort of Smaug-esque, and my trophy will be pizza, and then all of the notes that I took during the tournament.
Sounds right.
I also really appreciated, and kudos to Logan for being able to keep up with my BS notes system in my absence of how many rounds were won, this and that and the other. So you did a fantastic job of keeping my shorthand consistent and done, and I appreciated that. So I hope that I have addressed the pizza debacle. I hope that can get put to bed.
Pizzagate, if you will.
Pizzagate.
No, that's a very different
I will.
thing.
There is no Papa John's of this company.
I'll note myself.
Yeah.
No.
But regardless, I was appreciative of the fact that there was pizza. I did not get a slice of it, but you snooze, you lose. Like, so I lost.
Yeah.
So before we go into Joe and who you are and where people can find your stuff,
not a problem.
There was one bit of news that I did want to discuss that really is non sequitur, and so here's the non sequitur to throw it in. Who is your cell phone provider?
I use Verizon. I've used them for ever.
Mine is also Verizon. Who's your cell phone provider? AT&T. Folks in chat, what is your cell phone provider? Because the news that just broke today will pertain to pretty much everybody, regardless of whether you have them or not. But as we remember, T-Mobile and Sprint started sending winky faces to each other over Twitter. They started, DMing each other on the sly. Verizon got kind of upset about it, and they got pouty at the last time they were all the sleepover where they're all hanging out. But apparently, the nation's third and fourth largest wireless carriers are joining together. So T-Mobile and Sprint are going to be combining as a company. I have a feeling they're going to keep their own names and their own IPs, but they're going to be representing the same property. That's going to make them the third largest company behind AT&T and Verizon.
Right.
But 100 million people with cell phones, carriers, this and that and the other, are absolutely going to have a change coming to your account. So you should start asking now to make sure that if you have an unlimited data plan, which is the first thing to always go on every change, ipso facto, I don't have unlimited for Verizon anymore, and other things. Just as a heads up here from on the Nerd Glasses, get a hand to that. Don't get bamboozled about this seeming somehow legal violation of the antitrust laws. But here we are. So Joe, this is your first time on the Nerd Glasses, but you
Correct.
are not a stranger to many different forms of media and presences. Would you care to elaborate on that crappy intro?
No, that's perfectly fine. And thank you again. Thank you for allowing me to be here. It's a pleasure, and thank you for the opportunity then to say this. But yeah, I started We are actually, I haven't said this on the channel yet, so hey, exclusive. I'll talk about it here first. You heard it here first, folks.
Just do it first. The Nerd Glasses Scoop. Every week.
We are coming up on our 5-year anniversary on YouTube. We've been making content over at Geek for All, as Dave mentioned, on YouTube for 5 years now. We've been pretty consistent for, I would say, 3 to 4 years, whereas originally we were just uploading kind of whenever we had stuff because it was when we were starting out. But yeah, we are over at Geek for All on YouTube. If you search Geek the number 4 All, you'll be able to find it.
I dropped a link to it into chat as well.
I figured that's what you were doing, but I didn't want to assume, so thank you. And we also started within the last year or two. We started doing something that I was kind of really interested in trying, because Geek for All originally was supposed to be a lot of different things. We were doing D&D stuff on the channel. We were doing Magic the Gathering content on the channel. We did like Reddit 50/50s a couple of times, which was an absolute blast. We did tabletop gaming and stuff. And it kind of evolved or devolved, depending on how you want to look at it, into just Magic the Gathering content, because it became us and all of our friends. It kind of became like the core group of myself and my, at the time, fiance, now wife, Amy, doing the majority of...
Hey, mate!
the majority of the videos and stuff.
By the way, if you say it that way, she can hear you no matter where you are.
Well, then don't say it too loudly. She's sleeping right now.
Hey, man! She knows that someone has screwed something up. She's now...
No, well, she used to get annoyed that a little behind the scenes. That is absolutely how we used to call her when we all worked together at the scout camp Dave was referring to earlier. And there would be times where people would just say it because they thought it was funny, and yet that's how we would call her. So she would be following the trail of people yelling her name throughout the reservation to try to find who was looking for her, and it turned out that someone just started yelling it because it's fun to yell her name that way, and she would get frustrated to no end, rightfully so, at all of our nonsensical shenanigans. And I don't just mean Dave's and mine, I mean like it was everywhere.
There's a good like handful of guilty parties.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was just. And anytime anybody heard it, the other people would repeat it because it was funny.
It was like Marco Polo, except it was just, hey, mate, hey, mate.
Yeah, and so eventually it would kind of like be a chain, and it would get to her, and she would be very upset about it. So, and again, rightfully so. So, but yeah, so we went from, Amy and I, we did mostly Magic the Gathering stuff, but I wanted to do other things. And I felt like because all of our videos, we were doing 2 a week on Geek for All, were only Magic the Gathering related, if we wanted to do what I wanted to do for a while, which was video game content with Amy, then I would need to start a new channel. And so we did that, again, within the last year or two. That was Video Games for All. Again, still the number 4, so feel free to search that as well. But that is where I, as a semi-experienced gamer, I mean, I'm here on Insane Games TV, and so I will not pretend to be as good as the majority, if not all, of the people who stream here. But I try.
I have more than one stream on here. I'm not a very good gamer.
Fair enough.
I have fun, and I have very good friends
that
are very good at games. Like Imp Slayer in chat. He's very good at pretty much every game he does.
There you go. There you go. I do okay, but mainly what we tried to do with Video Games for All was Amy had 0 experience in games at all. I think before we started the channel, I think she said she'd played like Castle Crashers.
Do it in
once.
chat. Do May.
And yeah, so that was something that I got the opportunity to play through games with her so that she could see them for the first time and react to them. I think our biggest series right now is definitely Pokemon Red. That has been an absolutely fascinating experience to go through with her, to see the choices that she made, and to see her outright frustration and then just complete and utter joy and everything in between towards this game that I've been playing since I was 6 years old and got it for Christmas and until now. So yeah, that's a little bit. And then speaking of Amy, finally to finish up this long plug, we also do, Amy started her own channel, Gluten Free for All, because it's something that Amy has been dealing with for many years, and is something that she was interested in. Right now, there's only 2 videos on there. Once Amy has more time available to her, she will put more stuff on there. But for now, the main 2 channels are Geek for All, 2 videos a week, and Video Games for All, 2 videos a week. And then when we can, gluten-free for all as well. So if you, and that's all, if I didn't say that, that's all on YouTube. So feel free to find us there. We're also at Geek for All YT on Twitter and Geek for All on Facebook. So feel free to find us wherever you would like.
So you're pretty deep and involved with YouTube, correct?
I have been following along with the ins and outs of YouTube probably since I was in college, which was, you know, years ago. So,
I'm sorry, what was that number? I didn't,
it was, I didn't
catch that under the coffee.
Yeah, that
oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're old as shit.
It was probably, honestly, like, to legitimately answer your question, probably 10 years at this point. So, yeah, I've been following, like, some of the OG YouTubers, some of the newer group, the ins and outs and the workings of it, etc., for many, many years. So
YouTube has been trying to change itself, and in some cases, gently, and in a lot more cases, very violently, and at the cost of very many people who were trying to do things on YouTube. One of those big changes, and if you do not mind diverging here for a moment, we'll come back to,
please,
was Activision Blizzard made a deal with YouTube where they have streaming rights to all of their leagues. That's Hearthstone League, that's the Overwatch League, and that is the going to be soon Call of Duty League.
Sure.
And as someone that followed the Overwatch League on Twitch since it started 2 years ago, I was very frustrated to find out that all of the stuff that I had set up for my Twitch account and all those things and the ways that I had watched the Overwatch League were now moot and going to a service that did not have all of the niceties that Twitch offered for a live services platform.
Absolutely.
So they had their launch this past week. They did something ambitious. They had, instead of having, it used to be in one studio, they would have all the teams there, all the combatants, and they would just rotate who was playing each week and things like that. And sometimes they would have like homesteads where they would go to an arena and they would have that weekend worth of Overwatch with those teams.
That's cool.
This time they are localizing it. So New York Excel is the New York team. They used the Hammerstein Ballroom.
Wow. And
they were live in the Hammerstein Ballroom this weekend for the opening. They were also live in Arlington Esports Stadium in Texas for the Dallas Fuel.
Okay.
Now, I will say kudos to the Overwatch League because the entire broadcast went off pretty much without a hitch.
I was going to ask.
Considering that they moved to 2 different spaces and had all of these, you know, commentators, presenters, offstage interviewers, the teams, the setups for the computers, the streaming, stuff like that. And it worked out really well. If you were a fan of the local teams, Sprek and Z of which, you may not necessarily be all that pleased. The Overwatch League standings, there are now 20 teams. If you're a fan of the New York Excel, worry not, you are currently 2-0. And once again, unsurprisingly, if you're a fan of the Vancouver Titans, who dominated last year, they are also 2-0.
Nice.
If you're, say, a fan of Dallas, who were hosting this past weekend, you didn't win anything. So continue to feel like you feel with every other team and every other sport that you have, that you're just not going to win. Looking at you, Cowboys fans.
Jesus.
Looking at you.
Wow.
Coming after me, at me, Jerry Jones. You come after me on obscure Twitch channel. But the one thing I was very frustrated about was Twitch has a smaller viewer base than YouTube does. There are more people on YouTube than there are on Twitch.
By a lot.
But looking at the statistics from this past weekend, there were still more people watching the Overwatch League on Twitch, which is a smaller viewer base, than there was watching on YouTube this past weekend. I will say, you know, so for example, we had the Call of Duty tournament here, not to say I make up a great part of it, but I also then didn't do my usual PR where I'm telling my friends, let's watch it together and commentate.
Yeah.
I didn't have it up on the store. I can't bother or help but notice that the XFL also had its launch this past weekend.
Correct.
So casual audiences were more in tune with probably watching that than they were seeing something on YouTube that, to be honest, did you see anything about the opening weekend for Overwatch League?
I did not. I wasn't seeking it out, nor am I typically trafficking in those channels, but I will say I did not see a single thing about it through YouTube at all.
So that shows that you didn't necessarily get any information on it, which shows that they didn't necessarily branch out to people that weren't already subscribed or following the channel.
Right.
Although, I still love you, Papa Jeff, and I think you're going to do great things for Overwatch. And so, Overwatch League, super excited for it, really, really hoping that they are able to overcome the hurdle that is YouTube, just in general. The fact that they are new to the platform, and the fact that this was pretty much all just for the Call of Duty League, it seems.
Okay.
That seemed to be the crown jewel of the deal. And then the Hearthstone esports tournament, we've already covered the controversies that occurred during the Blitzchung incident. But, so that league seemed, I'm going to guess, YouTube was even kind of like, we don't really need it, but we'll take it.
Sure.
So I bet they had to pay him like an extra $100 to take that one off.
It's actually super interesting, if you don't mind me branching off
Please.
of that. It's super interesting that you mention that you feel like Call of Duty might be the reason behind the deal. Mm-hmm. Amy and I were just watching a video literally last night talking about YouTube's newer push, as you were talking about things changing, etc. YouTube is very much moving towards a push of heavy demonetization for a lot of their independent creators and broadly. I mean, there's
smaller channels.
Yes, and by
a certain
channels,
metric,
right? Right, or smaller creators in general, because they were talking about the fact that, for example, a Call of Duty, by YouTube standards, would not be allowed to be played or monetized, I should say, if played on YouTube. Based on their own personal standards that they have currently, YouTube, if I, for example, on Video Games for All, were to make a video playing Call of Duty, it would not be able to be monetized. Because, according to their policies, I could not quote it word for word, so I won't try, but I will paraphrase in saying that it's something to the effect of, graphic gore and violence of any kind, and that includes gunplay, although the distinction that was made in the video that I watched was games like Overwatch and Fortnite get around that because it's somewhat more cartoon-based, where
Fortnite doesn't have any blood. The person literally just disappears.
Exactly, digitizes or whatever. Yeah, so that's a way around that, and that's a way that a Fortnite-esque game is allowed to be able to still be monetized, even though other first-person shooter-based games like Call of Duty would typically not. So I find it interesting that you bring up that could be one of the things. So
it would make sense that they would then gatekeep and not let people post content of it, so that they could make sure that it's at the forefront is theirs and not other people's.
Fair. I mean, I'll slightly correct you. They can still post it. It just cannot be monetized by the creator, which, to be fair, would likely disincentivize people from doing it. So, it doesn't mean, again, I could make a Call of Duty video. I just wouldn't be able to make money off of it. So, if I were doing it to make money, I wouldn't make a Call of Duty video. But I still could, technically.
Do you want to make a Call of Duty tournament video? Like you and I enter the Call of Duty tournament and get absolutely slammed out the first round?
No. Spoilers. There will be a first-person shooter game coming out on Video Games for All soon. That's all I'll say as to why I'm not going to be playing first-person shooters anytime soon. There is a very good reason why I it's never been my genre. I was okay at Halo when I was younger. I love Perfect Dark for the N64, but that's about the extent of it.
And what game did you kill everybody forever at?
Super Smash Brothers?
I mean that one, but there was a more popular title that you would just crush absolutely everybody at. So we got to the point where we would just watch you play.
Oh, Dragon Ball Z.
Yes, any of the Dragon Ball Z games. If it's got the Dragon Ball franchise associated with it, and there's do you want Joe? Just come get him and have him. That man made Krillin useful. I love Krillin, love you. But he made him...
Like he's watching.
He could be. And I don't want this to be the one video that Krillin watches and be like, oh.
Oh. Nobody loves me.
Although, by mentioning Dragon Ball Z, you know what we just did? We just killed Yamcha.
Yeah, well...
apparently, by the way, Mr. Wet has broken some news. This is the second exclusive here on Behind the Counter. Oh,
We are behind a counter.
I miss being able to do behind the counter, but I'm not. I got kicked off it. So, apparently, one of the Shevlin brothers was out of control, and so you'll have to tune in to the Dream Team tomorrow to find out which one of those Shevlin brothers was it.
Nice.
Mike and Tom will have to answer for what we're gonna call Pizzagram.
Pizza great.
Pizza.
Because it's definitely not what I said before.
It's pizza. We'll say Duty Gate. What?
Pizza Mayhem.
Pizza Mayhem. For Pizza Mayhem.
I was gonna say if you can't say Pizza Gate, you could change it and be like Water Pizza or Water Za or something. But I think that's infinitely worse.
For once, I get to say this. You're thinking too much on it.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. No, that sounds right.
To cover on to a previous topic that we discussed and that was pitched actually by you, the viewers, and thank you very much for it. If you ever have any other suggestions, you can see us at all of our social medias or just talk to us in person. We're talking about video game themed theme parks.
Sure.
Do you know how many there are in the U.S. presently?
Wow. 2?
The answer is big ol' bagel. There are none.
Good.
Until Universal's Epic Universe is going to open, which is going to feature Super Nintendo World. And it's going to be opening in Universal Studios Japan and Universal's Epic Studios, which is in Florida.
Okay, so Super Nintendo World meaning Super Nintendo themed or Nintendo themed and they're just calling it Super Nintendo, and so it's like modern looking Mario as opposed to 8-bit or 16-bit Mario from Super Nintendo. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, well, this is interesting reading on Wikipedia where they have exactly 14 words.
Sounds right.
So use Mario and other Nintendo franchises and themes dedicated to the Universal theme parks. The 40 billion yen, 351 million US. Wow, they really screwed them. It's going to be a similar scale to the Universal's Harry Potter franchise, if that gives you any idea. So it's going to be a world based upon what's up, Vladdy93? Welcome to the stream. So we're going to be getting a Nintendo World, baby, which means that I'm going to cry to Dan until he sends one of us, and it's not going to be me, to it to be able to wander around.
Which one is it? California, Florida? Which did
Florida.
you say? Florida. So yeah, okay, that's cool. I'm okay with that.
And if it is in California, I'm just going to deny it because no. Joe, what's this? What is this in my hands?
Okay, I mean, I could get super specific, but in general, I'll say it's an Xbox controller.
Yes.
Xbox 360 or
so
One. So
what do you do with this controller, Joe?
You play Xbox games with it.
Did you know there are more things you can do with this controller than just play Xbox games with it?
Is this going to be inappropriate?
No.
Okay, good.
It's not that, viewers out there. Stop it!
I was saying it so you didn't have to.
You throw it away, says No.
Nice.
Did you know this past weekend when I was watching a sporting event that you would typically not associate, you yeet it, says Amp Slayer.
Nice.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
I'm not going to yeet this because I'm not going to pay for it.
Yeah, no, it's not mine either.
And so, they panned over to their, one of the officials And what was in that man's hands doing the replays?
Okay.
But one of these babies.
Was that,
And so
that was for the...
The XFL.
Okay.
The XFL itself is innovating once again and using modern technology. And I will say, I've shout out to the Pat McAfee show. He's not that he needs my rub or anything, but he's going to get it.
Wow, how brave of you, Dave, to help such a small creator in Pat McAfee.
Oh, yes. And all his brands. God, I love Pat McAfee. But the XFL official was using this as a way of fast-forwarding, rewinding, pausing. And you know what?
It's pretty awesome.
They kind of did a comparison between the two different days on field official.
Sure.
And the guy using the controller seemed to be a little less tense about it.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps the controller association with it. But I did a little bit of scouring, and I was curious if there was any other really cool things you could do with an Xbox One controller.
Okay.
And the answer is that the U.S. military got on board. Probably one of them picked up this controller and just thought to themselves, yes! And so our budget went to something that I think is very cool.
Okay.
Have you ever seen a submarine's layout?
I've been on submarines.
Okay.
Sure.
So you've seen like the control panels and everything, right?
Yeah, oh god, yeah. Very
You know that the average crewman required to run it is 8, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Not that I just Googled that or anything, but...
I didn't know that, but it makes perfect sense.
So, apparently, in March last year, the USS Colorado
Okay.
is going to be implementing some of their controls that also potentially assist in maneuvering the sub will be controlled by a yeoman holding one of these babies, as opposed to holding as a way of reducing the panels and the comms inside of the submarine.
I have to say, it makes perfect sense.
It does, especially because it's not like the crucial part of it. It's basically they are sensors, successors to the periscopes you might be familiar with in the old war movies. And it houses, masts and things like that. So it's going to be used. It's going to be used to basically help sight and things like that for the sub, as opposed to using that periscope.
Now the question is,
yes,
if you were to move it up or down, is it inverted or not inverted?
Actually, the article asked that, and the Navy was not in a place to answer that question presently. Nor did they choose to answer the question whether or not there would be other video game systems on this. Can you imagine being one of the crew?
They're just on the sub.
And you're on the sub, and the captain comes down, and he goes, lower periscope. And the crewman literally just goes, huh!
Yeah.
And you see them scrambling down to like the small cute, like the break room is literally the size of this, and just ripping the controller out of his, like one of the other hands being like, we need this right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Running back down trying to sync it to the system.
That's so fun. Hopefully that's not how it works, but again, I wouldn't be surprised by anything. Really.
All fun and games till someone grabs it thinking they're in the middle of a match. Exactly.
Yeah.
Someone's using it to control the thing, and all of a sudden, someone goes, huh! Like,
yeah, the sub is like, you see the periscope on the sub, and it's just going up, down, turning all around, and the person on the sub is like, why is this not working on Overwatch? I'm dying right here. What the hell?
This is so stupid!
Controller's broken.
That would be so illegal, by the way, for them to be connected to the internet on one of the subs. Just as a heads up, we have a couple of friends that have been in the U.S. military for the Navy, and specifically talked about how the fact that one of them got on the sub and realized he had his cell phone, and so he took it out and crushed it because he was like, "I am not dealing with this."
Yeah, that's probably bad.
So. We're talking YouTube, we're talking content creation, things like that. And I posed a question on my Discord for the regulars that cross over into mine, and I messaged a couple people about, and I would be curious while I read the responses. I want you or anyone in the audience watching using the old statement, the show must go on. In the last week, all of my programs were struck with problems left, right, and center. Something relating to tech issues or people being able to come at the original times. Do any of you out there have any hurdle stories about something? And at what point did you either tough through it or call for the curtain? One of the regulars, and actually who is in chat, Vladdy93, talked about how he was making a 1-pound robot. And he plugged in the battery twice, which caused a small explosion and destroyed the brand new kit and cost $200. Vladdy called for the curtain on it, put it aside for a little while, gathered some more resources, and then was able to come back with a fresh state of mind and things like that, and was able to then build a functioning robot, which, by the way, Vladdy, next time you're over, you should bring, because I want to play with it. But, talking about the last story, Amp Slayer, the real question is what happens when you put the Konami code in to the sub?
Nice.
That would be very interesting.
Nice. The sub gets extra lives, like more fortification on the outside, I guess. That makes it a lot heavier. It'd be a terrible idea.
I'll make sure to. Thank you, Vladdy, and thank you for participating. Regular and friendo 4BZ talked about how at his job there were some folks that he did not get along with, sought inter-work like consultation to try to help dealing with them. And so what he did was, instead of seeking conflict with the person, called for the curtain on it, just stick with the analogy, and moved to a different area of their place of work, as opposed to continuing on and seeking conflict in that way. So in a way,
allowing it to like negatively affect you in your work environment, because then it just makes you look bad as an employee. So absolutely.
So you stop performing as you should, and there's not certainly a lot of people. If you're associated with Insane Games, this has nothing to do with you, and I mean this earnestly. But there's some people I work with on a daily basis that I just that should decount on a weekday basis that I just want to stop giving them paychecks. I do, and they deserve it, but they won't because.
Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised if people have worked in a place of business for any extended period of time that have had any kind of employee base, like any kind of somewhat extensive employee base, who was not able to see a particular employee and be like, I don't know how you get away with doing the things that you're doing, but I'm either furious with you for it or like, congratulations that you're able to get away with what you get away with, as opposed to me who, does the things that I'm supposed to be doing, and yet here we both are at either an even keel, or if that other person is higher than you. It's just, it happens, unfortunately.
Friendo, regular, and just all-around fantastic person. Amp Slayer also answered this question, talking about a technical hurdle for wanting to be able to stream Grand Theft Auto role-playing, but his PC had a tough time streaming it. After a while, just decided to hammer through it and go for it because was having fun doing it. And more power too. So I appreciated that everyone weighed in on that topic. You can follow more on the Discord to get into questions like that, or if you are interested, please make your voice heard in chat during the streams. I would love to hear of any times where you personally toughed through the show must go on moment, because this past week I sure as shit did every single time. Fortunately, it's not like there was one thing that just was constantly. It was everything that could possibly fall apart at different times did. But do you have any shot to hell moments?
I was trying to rack my brain. I can't think of one for me personally, but I will tell a story of another, if you'll allow.
Sure.
My father told me a story years ago. Yeah. Well, okay, sorry. My dad told me a story years ago because, surprise, surprise, I was in theater growing up in high school, and my father was as well, as was, no, my mother was in Glee Club or something, but my father was in theater. When he was younger, I was in theater, and he told the story from when he was in theater once. Legitimately, the show must go on. This woman, or this classmate of his, was ill. during a performance, and it was herself and another girl who were performing a scene, just the two of them on stage. It was drama based as opposed to musical, but still, they were having a dialogue back and forth. And one of the women, if they're dressed in their costumes, and the girl in question had a purse on, and she, during her conversation, she finishes one of her lines and allows the other girl to start hers, turns away from the audience, kind of, turns slightly, faces her back to the audience, and proceeds to be sick into the purse that she was holding because she was ill. She clasped the purse closed, turned back around, and fully continued the scene.
Please tell me they did not tell the costumer that they did that.
I have to.
And then
I have
just
to imagine
finish the production that went back into storage and then just wreaked absolute havoc on that poor person
First of all,
who controls the inventory.
Depending on the material that purse was made out of, it might have been impossible for the costumer not to know that had happened inside of that purse.
Well,
this was, my father is old enough to be my father, and did not have me at like a young age. So when he was in high school, it was not, like recent by any means. So yeah, no, it was. I don't know. I don't actually know that information. Although I'm going to go ahead and, at least when I was in theater, the costumer was right off stage watching anyway, so I assume that they were informed as needed.
I can only imagine being someone in the booth going, "What's that actor doing?" Okay. Oh, look at them championing through. But the theme of that whole thing and the chutzpah of it, the thrust of it, is, folks, every day is full of trivialities, trials, tribulations. Some of them very personal, some of them are very hard, and some of them are very unexpected. But let's remember that there are folks out there who care about you, who care about everybody, and don't let small trials and tribulations just throw the whole thing away. I won't go too deep into it, but just make sure, once again, that we keep everything in perspective. And just remember that the show does go on. And even if that week, whatever it is you're doing, if it's a performance-related thing or not, just remember that maybe it's not your night. Maybe it's not that set. Maybe it's not that day at the office that it's going to be your thing. You get a parking ticket. You get a whatever. Just remember that tomorrow's another day, and you can knock it out of the park then.
To go off of that, even, you mentioned either the show must go on or pulling the curtain.
Yes.
Right? And so, in terms of Vladdy's comment of, like, you know what? I'm going to put this down for now. I will come back to this at a later time, because right now it's not working for me. Maybe, again, too in your head about something. And it's definitely okay to take a minute, reassess, and be like, you know what? This is not what I need to be doing at this moment. Let me take a break. Let me step away. My mother used to joke, because I'd be playing. It's usually Pokemon. We talked about this earlier, but when I was younger, if I had my Game Boy, I would be playing Pokemon in the car or something, and there would be frustrating situations. The 17th time trying to catch that same damn legendary bird, and just not getting in the ball, or however many times I try.
For me, it was Chansey.
Sure.
Or Tauros.
Sure. You do love your Tauros.
In Safari Zone.
And getting frustrated. And my mother's appropriate response, having no knowledge whatsoever of video games,
was just stop with your stupid Nintendos.
It was not. Thankfully, it was not. No, my mom's response was, if it's no longer fun, then it's probably time to stop playing. And she was, like, somewhat being facetious, but at the same time, that's not wrong.
Why is that the first time I've ever heard that in my life? I am 30. That would have been a very good mentality. Young Dave probably wouldn't have played baseball for as long as he did.
Oh God, baseball. Yeah, we actually had. It was funny at this camp where we worked. We did a sketch or a scene.
I got a question for y'all. When GTA 6 drops, right? Will I be able to come here and pre-order it?
We will not be doing pre-orders on games like that. However, we are a small business. We don't necessarily order 10,000 copies to be able to get the company's attention like that.
All right. Do you know where I'll be able to find a digital download for that?
Any of the big box stores will be able to sell you one.
Like GameStop or shit like that, right?
Sure.
All right. I just wanted to ask because I do come out here a lot. That's
Yeah.
what I wanted to.
We will definitely have copies of it the day it comes out, but
I can't use a disc because I got the all digital.
Yeah.
So that's why I was trying to. Thank you, though. I appreciate
no
it.
worries.
So, just to continue off of that, the being able to reassess and step away, right, is kind of important. And I somewhat lost my train of thought, but that is perfectly fine. It's
Of course, I go to the bathroom.
It's
happens every time.
it's literally not an episode on Insane Games TV if we don't have a moment where we get to say, "Well, folks, we're live."
If it isn't the second we go live, or the minute Quick goes to the bathroom,
right.
it's
God
like
forbid.
It's always,
God forbid. That's
So,
fine. It happens.
Dan, would you like to join us for this week's Taste It or Hate It? So-
normal food.
It is. I actually found something really mundane this week, and it's a little
crickets.
disappointing, but at the same time,
Dave was trying to have me eat some furry animal last time.
they were Oreos. Hey,
No,
wait
they
a
were
minute.
called moochies or mochis.
Oh, mochi.
Okay, sure.
So-
is that the ones that Amy bought for you?
No.
Okay.
No, they were ones that purchased at a store that's
Okay.
dead to this mall, and so I'm not
I-
going to talk about it.
Did I describe it correctly? A furry animal?
I don't enjoy them, but I know that other people do. So, I
So,
don't know.
folks know that Friday is a day that's celebrated with a lot of hearts and things like that. And so, Joe, can you tell me what the difference between these two are?
How do you mean? They're
Is
from
there
different,
is there a discernible difference?
They're from different companies. That's
Damn
all
it.
I can see.
Well, fine. Ruin the gimmick about the fact that
I'm sorry.
one is from Whitman's and one is from Russell Stover.
Yeah,
And
but
so to
otherwise they
save
look
you the
exactly the
headache
same.
of giving anyone in your life either a bad one or a good one or a good one or a bad one, or just to avoid them, we're going to open them up and we're going to try them.
You want to open this one?
Yes.
Now the question is, how many are in there before you open them?
I could
I know
cheat
how
and I
many.
could look at. I'm going to guess 5.
Oh, I would think 3 based on this container.
I think Joe's right. I think 3.
There's going to be 3.
Oh, should we do
Over
this-
and under
should
in
we do this
chat.
this way?
Over and under in chat. 5 or 3. Here we go. Oh, what the hell! Well, I mean, there's good that there's only 3 because then we can each try one.
There sure are 3.
So,
Does it tell you on the back what they are?
it
No.
does underneath. Underneath, Vladdy saying 4. Yeah, Vladdy and I being very, very
Oh, okay.
enthusiastic about. So there's a coconut cluster, a chocolate buttercream, and a caramel.
I have a
Buttercream.
chocolate.
You
I
want
have
the
a-
buttercream?
I have a chocolate
What's that?
buttercream.
That's that one.
Chocolate buttercream, caramel, or just solid milk.
Should the same people try the same ones if we're trying to see
Yes.
which one?
Oh, you know what?
Well,
then-
so the difference is the solid milk versus the, what did you say, coconut or something?
Coconut cluster?
That's disgusting. I don't
So I will eat the coconut cluster and then get the reward of the
and
regular chocolate.
solid milk chocolate is yours.
So Joe gets the caramels,
Oh, that's fine.
and
So the chocolate buttercream is that one for
so
you.
I have 2 buttercreams.
Yep, I'll take the
You have
caramels.
2 caramels.
Get off the camera! Don't we see enough of him? Hey, he is a welcome addition to the make Dan taste things that I bring to the
Who told
store.
me to get off?
The usual trolls, Fat
Right,
Boy
so-
with the chain and Mr. Wet. So here's the coconut cluster. You're welcome.
Yeah, no thanks. So I have this is the Stover, right? That's what the one that you have over there. So
Yep.
I'll have the Stover one first.
This is what I got from Dave. So what, yours was the...
Here's the Stover. This is Whitman's.
I have a long history with the Whitmans.
Do you? Okay. I mean, it's definitely not bad.
But are they just like similar in nature then?
Oh, let's find out.
It's a little bit different.
These are a little different.
I have 2 very different tastes coming, so I don't.
Yeah. The caramel in the Whitmans
Is
was,
it too much to ask to see Joe?
did that work? Yes, it did. Hello.
I must say I like the
Mine better. The Whitmans.
I think the cream is a little bit.
You had
more.
Whitman's?
Yeah, you had Russell. Whatever.
You know what's funny? I got to give it to Whitman's as well.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I think the caramel was a little bit softer on the inside as opposed to like chewier.
Oh,
Here.
yours was Whitman's?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you had Whitman.
No.
Right?
Mine's
Yeah,
the Whitmans.
Whitman. Oh, there we go. I was surprised. Like,
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm going against Whitman's on this one.
Yeah.
So that was our taste test. However, while I have everybody here, there's something you do on your channel that I would like to emulate in the closing of the stream. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we do not have time to cover Death Stranding. I have literally put that on the ticket every single week,
Is this your Matt Damon, Jimmy Kimmel situation?
Now, it's become that, but it wasn't intentionally a thing until it became that. So, on Joe's channel, you open Magic the Gathering packs, which I happen to get a couple of here.
Nice.
Now, the last time we opened Magic the Gathering content in an Insane Games, I also opened a pack of baseball cards with not a claw hammer, but wire cutters.
Yep.
But I thought, Dan doesn't necessarily like Magic the Gathering.
Sure.
But I know that there is some other IPs and things like that, so I looked very hard for trading cards that would cover a thing that Dan likes.
I can guess.
And by Panini, they recently released packs of Fortnite cards. Now, I know Fortnite's not necessarily your jam as much anymore, but you will have more knowledge of Fortnite than him and I will, whereas we will have more knowledge of Magic the Gathering.
Correct.
So I want to see if Joe does an example.
Okay.
I don't know why I put the packs down, because folks can't see
nobody
them
saw
there.
it. Although I'll ask Dan then, and I mean, to people in chat can say as well, but based on the packs that he has here, Dan, how are you with Greek mythology? All right, hey, you know what? It's the Nerd Glasses podcast. I figured I'd ask. Fair enough.
He's the only one without glasses!
Fair enough. Okay, then never mind. But that's what these cards are themed after, is like ancient Greece and Greek mythology. So that's fair. Fair enough.
Fat boy with the chain going in on Dan. But, Joe, so what I'll do is I'll have you come over here and do a demo of the pack.
Sure.
Then I will try to emulate it, and then we will have Dan try to emulate it, watching us do it
cards?
twice.
Sure.
I would be curious, though, if you wouldn't mind commentating for the cards that come out of my pack. But let's see if we can have Dan read off his cards.
Sure.
Ooh, Theros, says Vladdy.
Yeah. It's the newest Magic set. It came out a little while ago.
On Joe's channel, you do not necessarily see Joe and Amy for 100% of the video as you would on a lot of the Insane Games channels, because I appreciate that Insane Games has spent the money to get these nice camera setups for us to be able to pace and cross our eyes and spit at.
Yeah, this is great. How's the framing? I can't quite see. Oh, good. That's awesome. Okay.
So this is an example of what you could see at youtube.com/geekforall.
Technically no, because we don't.
YouTube.com/GQman.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's weird.
If you Google
just
Geek for All.
Correct.
YouTube.
It's a whole thing. Some random dude who does nothing with his YouTube channel has that already. So we're working on it. But yeah. So these are
move it closer.
I mean, I could do that, but it's
Yeah,
whatever
but
like
camera setup.
that's all. So so basically the way that Magic the Gathering packs work, for those of you that are unfamiliar, you have 15 cards in a pack. Towards the back of the pack, you'll see there are like tokens, which are just random things that are like, oh, I have a wolf, so here's an interpretation of a wolf. But then you have the regular cards themselves, and you have.
Pardon me, you can give this.
Okay. You have more common cards, which are like fine. You have uncommon cards, which are a little bit better, and then you have rares or mythics, which are the more sought-after ones, and you get one of those per pack, and those are at the end. So the commons are here. Typically, am I going over each card? Is it?
I don't
Do you want me to?
Into detail, but you can you can just kind of.
Sure. So Incendiary Oracle, Indomitable Will, Naiad of Hidden Coves, Scavenging Harpy, a Loathsome Chimera, a Voracious Typhon, Scophos War Leader, Myers Grasp, a Towering Wave Mystic, a Daybreak Chimera. My first uncommon is Dawn Evangel. My second is Dream Shaper Shaman. And my third is a Saga in the Birth of Meletis. So again, it's slightly different positioning of the card because it's a slightly different card. I don't actually like this card. I don't think it's that good, but the art is really cool. And then after that comes my rare or mythic. Let's see if Dave gets some money out of this pack. Wow, it's a mythic. Nicely done.
Hot damn!
So you either get a rare or a mythic in your pack. Mythics are rarer to find than rares, and that's this little symbol on the side here. So this is red. It would be gold if it were just a regular rare. It's silver on the uncommons, and it's black on the commons. So, yeah, so Dave got a mythic in Nyx Bloom Ancient, which is very cool. It is a big old scary elemental tree thing. And then behind it, as I said, you have, towards the back of the pack, you have a full art land, which is new for this set. I mean, we've had full art lands in other sets before, but that's not typical. But it's just, instead of like a text box at the bottom like this one has, this is just completely a land. These are the main building blocks of the game, where you use this to play your other cards. So you would have a bunch of these in your deck as lands. That's fair.
Not gonna lie.
That's fair. People have called it Pokemon Energy.
It looks a lot like energy.
Absolutely, that's fair. And then behind it is that wolf.
Be a go token.
That wolf that I was talking about. Yours might have a go token, but this is a wolf. So, yeah, there you go. That is the pack that I opened. Although, they're still Dave's packs, and Dave got a mythic. So, congrats to Dave on that.
Joe's channel goes into like the mythos of the cards and things of that nature as well to give better context. You also do something that I was nice enough to be featured on, which was where Joe and Amy each open a collection of packs called a bundle, and they figure out who got more value out of said bundle.
Right, financial value, yes.
And
resale value, if you
I really enjoy that. Surprisingly, by the way, folks, Magic the Gathering cards are not hard to get the value back on them. So if you're looking to invest in something, I wouldn't necessarily say go out and buy all these Magic cards, because a lot of them aren't going to be very valuable, but they are something that I could turn around to. There are at least 5 stores within driving distance of here that I could turn around and get quite a bit of cashish.
Oh, yeah.
For that. I'm going to go through my pack, and then I'm going to have Dan open his, because I see that we are running close to time. So I've got Incendiary Oracle, an Indomitable Will,
a lot of
Temple
the similar
Thief.
ones that I got.
What's that name?
That is the... Sorry, tilt it a little bit. It's the Nylea's Forerunner.
Nylea's Forerunner. It's a green beast creature. Satyr's Cunning.
Yep.
Hero of the Pride. Traveler's Amulet, which I'm looking forward to using, because looking at the effect of it, it's going to be very good.
Good reprints.
Grim Physician. Thirst for Meaning, which is something I struggle with. And we have our first... what is it?
Uncommon.
Uncommon is going to be Wolf Willow Haven.
So that's a cool art on that card.
It's got some angry ass wolves, all going, "Where's the Fortnite content?" Sea God Scorn. So you're Poseidon, kind of pissing on the folks.
Oh, good, and another one of those that I said I didn't like.
The Birth of Meletis.
Meletis. I would say Meletis.
The Birth of Meletis.
I can't guarantee you that's how it's pronounced, and your rare or mythic is a rare.
Tectonic Giant.
Correct.
A big old green critter and a...
Whoa!
A foil.
Foil alt art Renata? That's cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's an uncommon, but it's still a very cool card in foil. Very nice.
And it's a green critter.
Yeah.
The Birth of Meletis! A Plains card and a Human Soldier. What a waste.
No goats for Dave.
No
right, Dan,
goat card. All right, Dan, let's see you accent in the Geek for All style.
By the way, for anybody that's curious, that mythic that I opened out of that pack, I just looked it up myself. If you were to try to, if a store were to sell that card, That card is $11.86. So congrats, Dave.
So what you're
Very
saying
nice.
is I should go to a store and demand $11.86 for the card, right? That's how it works.
Definitely not how
right?
it works. No, stores have overhead. They're not going to buy it for what they're going to sell.
What
it
do you
for.
mean you're not going to buy my $60 game for $60?
It's weird how
Can't
that
you
works.
then turn around and sell it for $1,000?
Yeah, $11.86 is pretty good for a mythic. So
Wow,
good
they
for
only
you.
get 6 cards?
Apparently, wow, you did get really screwed. Although the cost of that pack was half of this pack.
Okay, so that's like $2.
Yes.
Is what Dan's got. I mean, to be fair, think about it, right? Dave bought 2 packs at $4 a piece, so around $8, and he opened an $11.86 card. And so even if they only give him $10 in store credit or something,
I also got the Birth of Meletis. And
Twice.
I'm going to keep that on the set.
card's not good. Card's not good.
Hey.
It's just not.
That's Meletis you're talking about,
I know
sir.
nothing about what Dan is doing here, or holding here. So good luck.
Man, show it to the camera.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get an idea what it is first. All right, so we got number 186, Firewalker.
Are we showing the cards? Let's see on
He's on
camera.
there. Yeah.
Hell yeah, Dan!
Number 120, Bullseye.
Yes. We're live at twitch.tv.
Keep going.
Doing a podcast.
Number 101, Burst Assault Rifle.
Okay. Do they have things on the back? It looks like they have stuff on the back, like different things on the back.
No, I think it's another.
Oh, it's
picture
the
of
okay. Okay.
They're not in order. That's strange. Number 47, Common.
Yeah, so that's what I was talking about, right? Common, uncommon, rare. So common, it's probably like the rarity of the card.
Number 23, Common. Really? Out of the
Wow.
6 cards, I'm getting 2 random condom ones?
Common.
Common? Common? Try saying that about Common? Number
It's definitely a learned skill. I won't lie to you.
64, Common.
Wow.
Okay, so
you got
you
screwed by
you
Panini and Epic.
well, but you started in the back, right? Or possibly in the back, right? Because if you notice, when I went through, the rare was at the back, right? And the
Right.
uncommons were back there as well. So it looks like if you only got 6 cards, it looks like you got what, 3 or 4 commons,
Right.
and then like the rares.
But then
were,
they don't even have a purpose. Like, what is it? What are they? There's nothing on them.
It says nothing.
Exactly. Like, there's no point to them.
Well, I guess it's
just random screenshots of gameplay.
Yeah, I think it's collectible. They're like supposedly collectible, I guess.
Oh my god!
And so
But
it's like-
this
it's like
side,
rarer
so
to
this
get
makes
the
sense
other
because
ones.
this is the art from different loading screens. But this is literally just random shots
Yeah.
of people playing Fortnite.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Oh, well.
Well, I mean, I guess you're welcome. I guess I opened the value for you.
Well,
That
thank you.
Nyx
And
Blue
that's,
Ancient.
that's what I get for. Also, you opened me a green card. I'm very excited
Nyx
about
Blue
this.
Ancient's good. Did you read what that does? It triples mana that you spend on things.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it's very good. The card's very interesting. It's
so-
expensive, but it's good.
In closing.
Do you wanna,
By the way,
can
yes, I was gonna say
we'll swap back so that you can see our lovely faces.
what?
Okay.
Wait. There
Ah, we
go.
did it. Okay. Hello, everyone. We're back.
Firstly, again, thank you to Dan because I did not tell him I was going to be doing this until I walked in about an hour ago, and I was doing my usual like, "Damn, we're doing the thing."
But
And
now,
he,
but now Dan has cool Fortnite cards that nobody knows what they mean.
they can become a set piece for him.
Sure.
I wanted to get him something different that would more pertains to actual interest that he has, but there are no trading cards. Like, the trading card industry has really buckled down on what they make, per se.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like a whole other video, Dave, if you're asking me about that stuff. But yes,
Yeah.
I could talk about issues with Magic the Gathering for hours. And I would
I
probably not, since we're over time already. But
I will look forward to having you on and discussing that on a future episode of something,
Sure.
be it Nerd Glasses, the Weekend Wednesday, Sundave services.
Sure, whatever
Always
it is.
looking for content for that.
absolutely.
In fact, one of these days,
That one I'm sure Amy would be happy to come to as well, and the two of us can commiserate to people who hopefully are willing to listen about all the.
I think
nonsense
what I
that
might
goes
do on a Sunday is just have you come in and play Magic the Gathering with me on the
Okay.
stream.
Yeah, all about it.
The stream went down?
Oh no!
Question mark? I'm not getting any notifications that it went. Stream is back for now.
Okay.
Smiley face.
Hopefully you can hear us.
I mean, they'll be able to hear us. But
Okay.
We are quite audible.
I have never been accused of anything less.
But, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another installment of The Nerd Glasses. Oh, okay. Shot me a text. Make sure to follow Joe at social medias at Geek for All, Video Games for All, and Gluten Free for All.
Correct.
And definitely check us out next week, where Boulder will be returning, and he will definitely have a story about a new vehicle, and also the fact that the rental company gave someone that owned a two-door car, well, four-door, but a passenger car, a truck as a rental. And I would like to hear about adventures of that, especially considering he works in the city, per se, so he had to, drive that around in smaller streets.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure to keep it right here at Insane Games TV for the Citadel, which is coming up very soon. Boder had said that he was going to be playing more Mad Max, and I'm looking forward to it. But if nothing else, make sure to tune in tomorrow for more Madcap hijinks on more programs, and not exclusive to On the Weekend Wednesday, where we'll be playing Journey to the Savage Planet with my first ever guest from my other job, which we will be calling it that and nothing else for the entirety of the rest of the time I refer to it.
Sounds right.
But, ladies and gentlemen, for all of us here at Insane Games TV, thank you very much, Joe, for joining us.
Thank you all so much for having me.
Thank you for the
Absolute
$11
blast.
card.
Hey, you bought it.
And for the birth of Leatus. We will...
It's just worse every time.
Leia Mattis. I'm going to keep making it worse, and I'm going to make sure Boder at least mentions it once next time. But for all of us here at Insane Games TV, this has been another installment of your weekly injection of nerd news, the Nerd Glasses. Thank you very much, Joe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.